Hello, everybody. Good evening and welcome to the United Stand. It's the Sunday night show. We're starting at 7 tonight because we've all had the longest day in the world. The clocks have gone back in the UK, and I think if we did the 8 o'clock show, I think we'd all fall asleep. So we thought we'll start it a bit
that hour,
earlier.
mate.
Yeah, needed that hour. But also we're raring to go. We've got Ricky, Beth, and Adam. How are we all doing?
Very well,
mate.
Loads to get into. Me and Adam were just talking there about some of the stick we've had online today about just being a bit real, well, not even real, just having an opinion that isn't Ollie's back at the wheel, I suppose. It's like, as I keep saying, it's always about standards. That's what it's all about. But look, we'll give Ricky the floor first. He's not been on for a couple of weeks. What a week it's been, Ricky. The Liverpool result, the bounce back result yesterday. Me, Beth, and Adam have all had our say about where we are with this. Where are you about this at the moment? Where were you at the start of the week? Where are you now? Give us your thoughts on the situation.
At the start of the week, after our run of form, the Liverpool result was the actual scoreline, and the performance was the last nail in the coffin. I think you all know on here that I've banged on for probably 18 months about us playing with too many forwards. We played with Greenwood and Rashford on the wings. Anthony Martial, we didn't have Ronaldo or Cavani at the time when we played Spurs. We got beat 6-1. We had Greenwood and Rashford on the wings. We had Martial at number 9. We had Bruno at number 10. It was too many forwards. It did a similar thing away to Leipzig, and we were 2-0 down in 15 minutes. Don't get me wrong, he's done that a lot, but you just are going to come unstuck regularly against good sides with too many forwards in your team. So to do it against Liverpool, and I've probably sent you a message before the game. Well, I did send you a message before that game, Mark, even though I'm not being honest. I expected us to get murdered. As soon as I saw the lineup, I said, we will get murdered. There's too many players up the field. And I'm fed up of seeing pundits, even Keano, and I love Keano. I saw Keano yesterday tearing into the defenders about the performance against Liverpool. I'd love to speak to him about it. He was tearing into Luke Shaw. I'm sure he wouldn't tear into Dennis Irwin. If Dennis Irwin would have been on his own against Mo Salah and Trent Alexander, he'd have got torn to pieces. Mm-hmm. We just haven't got enough players behind the ball. It's not the individual's faults. Obviously, you're going to get drawn into situations like Shaw and Maguire bumps into each other. By having more players behind the ball, you're trying to stop getting into situations like that where Luke Shaw's got to come bombing across to try and cover. Just get more people behind the ball and make the opposition play backwards and play sideways. And this is what we did yesterday. And I've said on here a few times, and you've all laughed at me, if we play with more defenders, we will score more goals. And that is exactly what happened yesterday. It's exactly what happened.
But you know what? I suppose the question I'll ask, because we'll get into that. My feeling is that I don't want to see us play like yesterday. I don't want to see us playing counter-attacking. But I think Roy Keane said after the game, that's all Ollie can do. That's Ollie. He's got to sit in because that's all he can do. Having seen that yesterday, Ricky, where are you with Solskjaer now? Do you see something from yesterday to go, let's just keep at that and see how he goes, or would you still change it?
Look, it's real awkward after having. I thought he played well yesterday, and I thought he thoroughly deserved to win. I thought they were well organised. Made it really difficult for us to play through us. Really difficult. I've studied the goals today, particularly the one where Bruno. If you have a look at the one where Bruno wins, it's the second goal. He nicks it in the centre circle, and his touch takes it into their half. When that ball goes into their half, every single United player is behind the ball. We've got nobody in their half, and they all flood forward. And that's real dangerous when you're all running forward. A lot of people, like you've just said, a lot of people think it's defensive having everybody behind the ball, but you can all bomb forward all at the same time.
Counter-attack.
You really can bomb forward all at the same time. So
that's what it is.
But to answer your question, it isn't something. He's been in charge nearly 3 years. It isn't something that he's been planning. He's literally done it because we've shipped 9 goals in the last 2 games. And I know you're all saying we don't want to counter-attack, we don't want to defend, but it's got to be better than letting 9 goals in 2 games, hasn't it? Do you know what I mean? It's got to be better.
Yeah, he's been forced into that position, hasn't he?
Yeah,
which I suppose,
into it, yeah.
Which I said it yesterday, Beth, that it feels to me, I'm still very confused. I mean, I want Ollie to go, but I do feel very confused. How are you feeling at the moment? Because I just feel like, I said it this morning, with Arsenal, they win yesterday. They're dreaming of 4th and 5th. They've got a plan. We won yesterday. I don't know what the plan is. I know if we sack Solskjaer and bring Conte in, his plan will be, I'm going to get you 4th. I'm going to try and win the Champions League. I might get you in a title race. But with Ollie, I don't know what it is. Where are you at the moment after yesterday?
This is the thing. After yesterday, obviously, I'm very happy with the result. I agree with Ricky. I thought we did play really well with that formation, even though you've got to get into context. Spurs are in bad form. They've got no confidence. They didn't really press us that much. So it wasn't the hardest opposition to play against. But as you say, you can only beat what's in front of you. And I think we did that really well. And I think we did use that formation well, considering they only just probably were training it for a week. But the confusion that I'm at is you've got Jadon Sancho on the bench, 70-odd million. Marcus Rashford, who he's literally been Ollie's number one since he first came in, was benched. Greenwood benched. You've got even Martial not in the squad. You've got all these forwards. And then on top of that, you've got a back five that we know hasn't been Ollie's plan. It's always been the 4-2-3-1. So that's just completely come in just to save his job. You've got where's Pogba going to come in? And I just don't think there's any sort of clue of what's actually going on at the football club. The problem is for me is I don't want to play like we did from shipping 9 goals, but I also don't want to play with a back five and keep playing counter-attack football. I don't want to see Manchester United line up with a back five every week. I really don't. So for me, it's just a hard situation because I want to be able to play football like the likes of City do and like Liverpool do, but the fact of the matter is Ollie isn't capable of playing that type of football. The only options is to play the back five and counter-attack or play the way that we did against Liverpool, which wasn't executed properly. He can't execute the press with them players. We've seen it time and time again. But where are these forwards going to fit in? What's the plan? What's Jadon Sancho going to do? Just sit on the bench every week? Is this back five going to continue? I don't want to play game by game. I want to know what the strategy is for Manchester United. I want to know what our game plan is. Do you know what? If you went with a back five and did this every single week and absolutely nailed it, at least I know that that was the plan. At least I know that is the way that Manchester United play. But that's not going to happen. He's going to play the back five until people get off his back, and then he's going to go back to the 4-2-3-1. And God knows what's going to happen when that happens as well, because it might end up being the same way as it did. It's just very, very confusing. And it's a shame that you have to go to a back five to see the likes of McTominay play well, to see the likes of our wing backs getting up, the full backs getting up the pitch and getting the balls into the box. Manchester United, with the players they've got, should have a coaching setup that is capable of getting these players to do that without having to play in another centre-half as well. It's not rocket science. You can do it. Like Ricky said, you've got to get more people behind the ball. You've got to be very positionally aware. But I don't think Ollie and his coaching staff are capable of doing that. They have to have the extra defenders in there to do it. So I'm just confused. I'm glad we won, but I don't understand what the plan is whatsoever going forward. But one thing I do think is he's definitely going to keep his job holding on to this back five thing. I think we're going to see it for quite a few games now until the pressure's off him.
Yeah, I think it's. I think we're going to talk about the Greenwoods and the Rashfords and the Sanchos, and I mean, I don't know whether we'll talk about Donny. I don't really know whether there's any point in that anymore.
There's no point.
And even Pogba, who can play against Atalanta. I mean, whether he will play in that game. So there's loads to talk about, because if we stick with the back five, I think all 4 of those players probably don't start. But Adam, you were at the game yesterday. I mean, look, Ollie came out after the game and said that McTominay was head and shoulders the best player on the pitch for Manchester United. I mean, I have been looking forward to tonight to just ask you. This is not the question I'm going to ask you, but I said Wan-Bissaka, Bruno, Ronaldo and Cavani were clear of McTominay from what I saw, but somebody told me that if you're in the ground, you'd realise McTominay was better than them. I mean, can you answer that question? You were there. Was McTominay doing things off the camera that we didn't see? I did give him 7 out of 10. I thought he played well, but I didn't think he was head and shoulders above the 4 players I've mentioned there, or Varane actually as well. I thought Varane was superb.
Yeah, you know what, people don't realise it when you're at the game. You do see different things. You don't see what the pundits and all the experts pick up on certain mistakes and certain tactical errors or players not being so switched on, like Ricky was talking about there with Keane. But what you do see is influence. You do see more of what setting up is. You do see what Varane does, which was literally Lindelof by one neck, Maguire by the other neck, and smashing the effing heads together, but obviously not as violently as that. But that's what Varane was doing. He was bellowing at Maguire. He was bellowing at Shaw. The whole back line was under his control. And when you've got a leader at the back, That's what I look at. I look at influence. Everyone can talk about individual performance. Oh, we did this. Look how well he did that. Doesn't count for anything unless the rest of your defence is working with you on that level. That's what Varane brought yesterday. So I thought I gave Varane my man of the match simply because the guy being away for so long to come in and have that influence and calmness. Don't get me wrong. The game was crap. The quality of football was shit, in my opinion. It was a battle. It was just an out-and-out battle, and that game fell into our hands at the time we really needed it. McTominay looked good because it suited him down to the ground. He got stuck in, and he probably won that midfield battle against an absolute shower of shite, which Spurs were. They were diabolical. But we won our individual battles all over the pitch yesterday, and you can't really ask for much more. You play who's in front of you, and you win your individual battles. And thankfully for us, we had better players on the pitch. We had winners. We had Cavani, we had Bruno, we had Ronaldo. We pretty much changed the game for us with the guidance of Raphael Varane. And don't get me wrong, Raphael Varane can control the likes of Fred and McTominay as well. That's what you get in a leader and an experienced centre-back. He can influence them as well because they were the defensive unit. Going into what you were saying just a minute ago about it being counter, it doesn't have to be counter-attack with that formation. You can push that line up. Ricky's talking about getting players behind the ball. That doesn't necessarily mean on your 18-yard box behind the ball. The ball can be up there and you still got players behind the ball. It's about working it with the right players in that system. Has he got time to work out his best players for this formation? No, not in my opinion, he's not. He really hasn't. But for me, this is where the next problem is and probably what we're going to go into next. In winning that game yesterday as comfortably as we did and playing as well as we did for that particular game has opened up a whole new can of worms of issues for him. Because like you said, like Beth said, like Ricky said, you've got 4 young, and I don't want to put this out there just as a point of saying these are English and they have to be in the team. But we know what it's like in this country. 4 English forwards sat on that bench who effectively don't really fit into that system. They don't. Will Ollie look at it and go, seeing as always tried to copy everything that Sir Alex Ferguson did, but completely get it awfully wrong? Will he think, look, 4 centre forwards, Greenwood, Rashford, Martial behind Ronaldo and Cavani. Let's not forget, these guys have all got years on them, and Cavani's gone in the summer. So will he be thinking 4 strikers? Will it be Martial, Rashford, Greenwood and Ronaldo? And like I said, Ronaldo's gone in 2 years.
I think Martial would work well in this system. You know, I will forget. I think Martial,
as a 2,
I'm surprised he didn't start. I know it works, but I think Martial in the front 2 and Ronaldo works better in the front. I think Martial, I'm surprised he wasn't on the bench because I don't think Rashford, I know he scored, but
there is a focal point there. 2s work better. I think none of our forwards ideally work well as a lone forward. I really don't. You could see that Ronaldo was getting more space because Cavani was causing all sorts of issues with his movement. Ronaldo, I think, had a lot more of the ball than what I've seen over the last few weeks, so it works there. Rashford coming on was the perfect substitution for that moment because we was hitting them on the break, and his pace was just going to leave them for dead. So is he going to be happy doing that? This is the problem we've got now. The problem Ollie's got is fitting these players into this style and this formation is his biggest problem, because you can't use it for every single game, I don't think. And this is the balancing act that he's got on his hands right now. I think I went off completely there from the McTominay shout, but yeah, you were right. McTominay wasn't our best player in my opinion. He did have a very, very good game. He won that midfield battle alongside Fred, but let's not forget who they were playing against and how bad Spurs were. And Nuno and his tactics and substitutions really helped us out. It really did. A quick note on that as well. That stadium is awesome. It doesn't deserve that football that they're seeing there. My God.
Well, it's funny, isn't it? This afternoon, there's talk that they're going to sack Nuno. I think he's survived. But, I mean, they've got 15 points, 2 points less than us. And they've played Chelsea, Arsenal, City and us. We've got 2 points more, but we've only played Liverpool and Spurs from they've played 4 of the traditional top 6. We've only actually played 2. And look, I'd sack Nuno, I agree, but it just shows you that, the way things are working. I mean, just picking up on what Adam said there, Ricky. I mean, there's loads of things to talk about tonight, but I think it's a good time to bring this in. We were messaging last night, and we're talking about this 5-3-2. Do you think Ollie's going to stick with that now? Has to stick with that for as long as he's there, because the minute he goes back to the other way, it could leave us open. Because basically he's playing 2 forwards instead of 3, isn't he? He's put an extra defender in. And last week you had Rashford and Greenwood, who just didn't track back and left people like Shaw and Wan-Bissaka in the midfield exposed. So I think the reason he's brought an extra defender in is not because he thinks, I'll copy Conte, because that's what the fans want. I think he's doing it to get an extra defender in. What does that mean for Rashford, Greenwood, Sancho in a 5-3-2? Because none of them really suit it. We saw Rashford come on for the pace on the break, but I don't think I think we'll see Rashford start against Atalanta in a 2 because Cavani can't play 2 games. But what do you see as that? Because that's meant to be the blueprint that Ollie's sold us, isn't it? You know, the youth coming through and everything.
We've already touched on. I mean, Beth touched on a few things. She mentioned where does Sancho stand in all this now? I mean, so many things that we're talking about can all be linked together, and you can go one thing after another. You know, Beth mentioned Sancho. We've just spent 75 million on a right winger. So if that's Ollie's choice to sign that player, we ain't going to be playing with wingers by the looks of it. I mean, there might be the odd occasion that we might go 4-2-4 or 4-4-2. He said 4-2-4, not me, but that's what he calls it. Why would you? You know, he's literally done this because he's under so much pressure and letting so many goals in. It's not just the fact that he's signed wingers, which in this scenario you're not going to use wingers, but he also hasn't got enough centre backs. He doesn't trust Bailey. It's clear he doesn't trust Bailey. I'll come back to this, by the way. We've beaten City in the past a couple of times. Varane's a top player. He's playing great, so I'm not having a go at Varane. I just think people are going a little bit over the top. You know, he played well, and as I think Beth said, it is only Spurs. It is only Spurs, and they're not playing well, Spurs. But I'd also like to come back to you with this, Beth. It might only be Spurs, and I know you're thinking about Liverpool getting 5 and Leicester getting 4. It's only the week before that Villa beat us 1-0, who were probably worse than Spurs. I was just watching them today. Villa beat and Everton drew with us. So you can only beat what's in front of you. Yeah. So maybe if we'd have had this lineup with a back 5 and 2 top strikers, we probably would have beat Everton and Villa. You know what I mean?
Well, possibility. With the bad form that the defender's in, that is the probability of that. But it's just, what is the plan with that formation?
Well, I know there's no plan. All I'm saying is, don't just think there's so many things being said. All this about Varane. Again, I'll come back to that. Like you said, it's only Spurs, and Spurs are not good. You know, we beat City last year without Varane. We had Shaw, Maguire, and Lindelof, and I know their form's not been good recently. But their form, in my opinion, has not been good recently because mainly that Greenwood and Rashford are playing. That's the main problem.
I think Bruno in the midfield pressing as high as he was with Rashford and Greenwood not getting back as well, and then just having McTominay and Fred.
Bruno's one of the big problems. Bruno is a big problem, but he worked better at it yesterday. Like I just pointed out, everybody was behind the ball at times.
You didn't come back to me on that one that you said early on in the game before it kicked off, Ricky. Either you swerved that one on me, didn't you, Crafty? Anyway, just on that, actually, just on that. Look at them teams that you just mentioned there, guys. I think we're forgetting one thing here. It comes back to the mentality again of putting on this red shirt. Because let's have a look. Let's just see Leicester, brilliant, then get beat by Arsenal. Look at Everton's form after their great performance against us. Look at what's happened to Villa, like Ricky said, after they performed against us. It's a cup final every single week at Manchester United. If you can't handle a cup final every single week, which a lot of this team cannot handle, then there is your problem as well. It doesn't matter about any formations. I just mentioned then about winning your own little battles. Sometimes you have to work as hard as the opposition. Ricky will be a big advocate of that. You do have to put in the graft as well, like Liverpool do. You won't see one of them Liverpool players shirking any sort of effort or any graft. If you don't put in the same amount of effort as your opponents, you're going to get beat no matter who it is you're playing against in this league. And that's a fact. And that's what we've come up against. And the fact that we've not been able to come out and start a game fast, having been fresh with the manager's words and coaches in our ears, or start a second half on the right foot with them words in our ears again, shows me that this week they've had to really sit down. The fact that Ollie's talked about Cavani having the training session that I've never seen anyone before, and that's why he came into the team. There's obviously been a real lack of, I don't know what the right word is to say. It's laziness, really. It's an arrogance that you're going to walk onto that pitch and beat whoever it is that you're up against. Do some basic stuff, and then you'll find in the game that you will have room to do some more of the flair stuff. You'll have chance, but you can't walk into these games like we are thinking we're just going to walk over these teams. I mean, Wolves, Southampton, Everton, Leicester, Villa, not wholesale like well-beaten teams like Tottenham. All we did differently to them games that we did against Spurs was fight. That was it. That's all we did. And we had better players at the end that won it. There was no tactical masterclass in that game. We just won individual battles. So there's a lot more work.
We were better in that game. Positionally, we were awful.
Yeah, because we were switched on. Straight away, you switched on. Winning individual battles is making sure you stick to your area and win that battle. It's like Luke Shaw used to say. It's like Wan-Bissaka. I thought Wan-Bissaka was superb yesterday.
He was.
But he switched on from the word go, literally, because of what's happened this week and the stink that's been kicked up. It's embarrassing that we've had to get this performance now, a simple run-of-the-mill.
Well, there was always going to be that. I mean, if we were sat here tonight and we'd lost, I haven't been in on the players this week, but I would have done, because I would have said professional pride's got to kick in. You've got to put a performance in, and I said after the game, I don't know what anybody else felt, but I was like, I'm not going to give anyone a bad score because I don't think anybody didn't put the effort in, and I don't think anybody. And it's not just about effort; it was about performance. But just come back on what Ricky said there. I think it's a great point. And this is the question I want to throw out to the chat and everybody is where because I am confused. Where are we going from here? Are we going to stick with this 5-3-2? Is he going to mix it up again? Because I do want to open the world's eyes to the fact that it's all about standards, but it's all about 2.5 years of. I'm about a long-term plan. I'm about youth players coming through. I'm about the United way. We've got United lads in the coaching setup, and we're now playing a 5-3-2 that doesn't have wingers in it. And as Ricky said, spot on, we've got loads of attackers, but you can only pick 2 now instead of 3. And we've not got enough centre-backs to play 3 centre-backs. In fact, if Varane hadn't been past fit, he was going to play Luke Shaw as a left-sided centre-back and Telles as a left-back. Well, if Telles gets injured and Luke Shaw, we haven't got a left-back. So this is the thing, isn't it? We're just not set up, Ricky, for this system.
It's planned for.
It's not planned for it, exactly.
This is what's wrong with it. Look, it worked great, and I'm quite happy with it. Me, everybody thinks it's defensive. I think I said the last time I was on. Look at Chelsea, won the Champions League. They won the top of the league. I think they've scored more goals than anyone. They've certainly scored quite a lot more goals than us. That's playing with 5 defenders and 2 defensive midfield players all the time. They force teams back and don't let them out. That's how they play. 5 defenders up on the halfway line, keep them penned in, 2 defensive midfield players, and teams can't get out. So they're playing with 7 defenders virtually and scoring more goals than anybody. And that's where
you need to make the point across to everyone, Ricky, that of what you just said there, because everyone's looking at your team and you're making it out that you sit in. You just mentioned Chelsea's 7 so-called defenders there, but they're not sitting in. No, they're like you said then, they're on the halfway line.
Yeah, they're on the halfway line. 2 goals yesterday, didn't he?
Exactly that. So this is where, and you're going to get into this now probably, but this is where the problem lies. Because he's fallen into it and was forced into it probably, I would say more.
Adam, different games call for different circumstances.
Mate, but we haven't got that manager, Vicky. We've not got that manager. I don't care about Chelsea. It's not Chelsea, mate. The issue is Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, mate. That's what I'm getting at.
All I'm saying is don't think that by playing the back 5, it doesn't mean that you're going to push up. If we were playing, I've just mentioned them teams who got one. We got 1 point from 6 at Old Trafford against Villa and Everton. If we'd have played with that format that we played with yesterday, we'd have had them pinned back throughout the game, virtually throughout the game.
I disagree. I think you've got to look at mentality as well, mate. And the arrogance and where this team was before this formation just got sprung upon them was a different area altogether. I still think we would struggle.
Do you think next week, here's a question then, Adam, do you think next week against City, we'd have more chance of beating them with the back 5 at the Etihad than we will at Old Trafford? Because at the Etihad, like at Spurs. No one has a problem when you go to Spurs and you sit back and you wait for them to make mistakes, which is what we did yesterday. If we did that at Old Trafford against Spurs, people would be mumbling, because I thought it was we won 3-0. So, and the goals were good, but one of them was just world class. The second one was a mistake, which Bruno pounced upon, and we had their defense was all over the place. And the third one is just a breakaway. We didn't create that many chances where we took them apart. And I think that apart from that, I remember on the watch along talking about favourite packets of crisps. Like it did get boring at times. So I thought there was no pace in that team at all.
No, there was no pace in that team. I mentioned that to Ricky early on. We basically just went out there to battle and be hard to beat and earn our way into the game. And look, that's when the goals and the chances started to come around for us. Sort of midway through, 3/4 of the way through the first half. That's what you've got to do. And that's what this sort of setup does. Like Chelsea against Newcastle. Ricky's point there is there. It's the same as what we did yesterday. They earn their right to go in and smash a few goals in the second half because they never came out of system. They never came out of formation, and they stuck to their guns. They didn't get carried away with attack, and the pressure of Old Trafford that Ollie falls under.
Yeah.
And this is what he's got to balance now. This is it. I mean, it's all right, this one game. Go and take it. Yeah. Go take it on there. That's brilliant. Everyone's happy. But it needs to be week in, week out. Is it sustainable with this coaching setup and these players with what's already happened this season is my point. Because there are players there now. Beth touched on bringing in, and Ricky about Sancho coming in. Where does he come in? Does that mean he has to play as a wing-back? Does he convert to a wing-back? This is what you've got to start working out now. So everything that was planned in the summer has gone out the window, is what we're saying. That's pretty much it with this formation coming in.
That's what Ricky's saying, isn't it?
Start from scratch. Start from scratch again, 10 games in.
He had no way. Sorry, I'll come into you now, Beth. But, exactly. What we're doing now is basically a third of the way or a quarter of the way into the season. My plan is in the bin. I'm very lucky to still be in a job. Let's try something else. That's what we're seeing. Sorry, Beth, what were you going to say?
I was just going to say it's like with our transfers at times as well. Like I think Sky Sports had touched on this yesterday. Cavani was a last-minute buy. Like, I'm so glad we did it, but he was never in the plans. Ronaldo was never in the plans. To play them both up front this season was never in the plan. To play a back five and not have Sancho introduced into the team surely wasn't in the plan. There's virtually no planning. I don't think, even if there was a plan, it would not get stuck to, because Solskjaer for me just doesn't have the capabilities to pull off what he wants to pull off. I genuinely do believe he wants to play an attacking style of football with a 4-2-3-1. He just can't pull it off. He's been trying for so long and it's just not worked. And I think with the back five, there's just no longevity in it whatsoever. There's no longevity with the squad. There's no longevity with the young forwards we've got. And it's like, for example, if he was Tuchel, if he was Conte, back five would probably work really well, and it could be in a very, very attacking formation, because it can be if you do it right. I think the way Tuchel does it is great, and I do actually enjoy watching Chelsea playing in that formation. But I don't think Ollie has the tactical nous to actually do that and pull off a back five, and I also don't think he has a squad for it whatsoever. Like Reece James, absolutely amazing right wing back. Aaron Wan-Bissaka was amazing yesterday, but he's not got that attacking prowess that Reece James does have. Other the centre backs, the midfield, we just don't have it at Manchester United. So I don't think it'll be a long-term thing. I think it'll just be for a few games and then he'll try and go back to before. But I don't know if it's going to work, because he's been trying for 3 years and it's still not.
Let's play a fun game just for a couple of minutes then, because there's lots I want to talk about, but I just want to do this. Somebody said in the chat at the start, we might not play a back five again. He might go to a back four again. Who knows? I think the evidence is that he shouldn't even be in a job, and he's just won a game 3-0 playing a back five. So I think he'll do it. But let's just try and predict the future here. And I want to base it around a quote that's come from David Ornstein this afternoon, who's a good journalist. He said that Manchester United will consider Solskjaer's exit if the roller coaster ride continues. They may look to upgrade him at some point, but they're desperate to make it to the summer at least. I mean, the summer seems a very long way to go, considering we've only just put the clocks back for winter. It seems a very long time, and it feels a very long time when you've decided you don't want him as a manager, as I did last week. And I'm not going to change my mind on that. We'll start with you on Adam. Where do you think this is going to go? And it can, international breaks coming up. I think we've got We've got Atalanta, Man City, then we've got Watford, Villarreal, Chelsea. That's our next 5 games. Is he going to survive the international break? Is it just going to be he's going to survive anything now, or do you actually think, what do you think's happening over the next month?
It's like me trying to guess which formation Solskjaer's going to actually play next. It's with this football club, it's like you said, then they're desperate for it to work out. We all said they shouldn't have got that contract. And I don't think he'd be in a job now if he didn't sign that contract at the start of this season. If he just carried on and got into his last year, I think he'd have been sacked. I think the club are just trying to save face right now and keep him because they give him a contract stupidly. They give some of his backroom staff a contract for nothing, in my opinion. I think I don't know what I would do, but it's the football club, isn't it? And that's the difficult. I think
you're spot on though. Just to jump in, I do think the only reason he's in the job is because of 2 or 3 people trying to save their reputation. Yeah. And certain fans can be like, "Oh, get behind Ollie, this, that, and the other," but it's not lost on anybody that the only reason he's in a job is because 2 or 3 people don't want to look stupid, and they shouldn't worry because they've looked stupid for 8 years.
Yeah. That's it. I mean, do you know what? Some fans would look at it and go, all right, then. I see you've taken it. You've taken that hit, that financial hit on the chin, just to look on the football side of things. Some fans would actually go, you know what? I've got to give him a little bit for that. They made a mistake, but they've owned up to it and they've got rid of him. Some may look at it that way. I honestly, and I've said all along, I said after the game yesterday, it isn't sustainable, like I think all of us have said. It isn't, because I looked at the squad and I thought, I don't see how this moves on on a consistent level. I think
players are with him now, Adam. You saw it.
Sorry?
The players are with him now, aren't they? You saw that yesterday. That's something that didn't happen with Mourinho. That's a consideration.
I wouldn't say all of them, mate.
Oh yeah, definitely not all of them.
Yeah. So if you've got a few bad eggs in your team, then that can spread very quickly when results don't start going your way. I mean, no one's even spoke about Pogba. We're talking about teams there. Pogba's got nowhere near it.
Well, we will talk about Pogba in a bit. So
yeah, all right then, that's good. But I think, honestly, I look at it and I go, if he doesn't win against Atalanta and there's a chance that we're in the Europa League, that will be a big one. That will be a big one. But then they're thinking, if they want to make it to the summer, they've got to have some form of attraction for a big name manager. And if we're not in the Champions League, does that sway that big manager then from coming to United or not? And how much money he's going to get to spend. So I do feel if it gets worse or gets anywhere near it was before the Spurs game, which it could do this week, it'd be gone in the international break.
Ricky, your thoughts on how you think this is going to pan out over the next sort of month in relation to the club as well?
I think Alan just said that we need to beat Atalanta. We don't really need to beat them. We need a draw. We've got 6 points. We've got a home game against Young Boys.
Yeah, we'll go through that, won't we?
A point from Atalanta or Villarreal, or a point from both games, and we'll walk it through the group. And I think because of that, I've said this for a reason, Adam. I think because of that, I think he will stick with it on Tuesday night, in the knowledge that we actually don't need to win. You know what I mean? Like, you might think that's me being negative again. I'm not being negative again. I think it's our best effort of actually trying to win, but at the same time, it doesn't matter if we don't win.
It's counter-attacking football. He'll love it.
So long as we don't get beat. So I think he'll stick with it. I think he'll stick with it for Atalanta because a draw's good enough. And I think he'll stick with it for City because they're such a good side. And we've beat City.
And a draw's probably good enough.
And we beat City before a couple of times with a back 5. So I think he'll stick with it for at least these 2 games. And if it works, like you said, really, even 2 draws would be all right. City are that good. But then Palace have just beat them, haven't they?
I think if he draws both games, he will stay in a job, definitely. Yeah, I think he's got to lose one. It'd
be interesting to see what he does. The game after that, I'm sorry I'm going to mention Chelsea again, Adam, because you seem to get a bit upset when I mention Chelsea.
No, it's just because they're doing better than us, that's all.
I think when we play Watford away, if he does it against Atalanta, and let's just say we get the draw that's good enough, and let's say we win 1 out of 2 games, whichever one, and draw the other, that's fine, be great. So then, when we play Watford away, because they're in the bottom 6 or whatever they are, he needs to think more like Chelsea think. Don't start thinking, we'll do away with a defender. Let's try and dominate the game from the back. Let's go against the small teams like
this is what I mean. Is it not worth? Is it not
again?
On that, then, is it not worth having the 3-4-3 adaptable 2-3-5-2 in and out of possession? You can easily play a 3-4-3 with the same players. Like I said, Bruno drops back into the 5 out of possession and does some of the defensive work he did yesterday. It's easily, and I think 3-4-3 then would give us that better option going forward. Sorry, I missed that then.
Better option. We just banged 3 in against Spurs. If you've got Cavani and Ronaldo up front, we'll be fine.
Yeah, that was a 3-4-3 as well. Because Bruno was playing that high as well at times yesterday. So you can see where the adaptability is. It doesn't have to be
all I'm saying
a 3-5-2. I think there can be 3 there as well.
We need to get our stall in order, however we're going to do it, and we need to stop pissing about with it and chopping it and changing it. If it works all right against Spurs, against Atalanta, and against Man City, we need to stick with it when we're playing Watford or Burnley. That's what we need to do.
I don't think that isn't defensive, in my opinion. It's not. It doesn't have to be, and you don't have to have out-and-out defenders in this formation either. You don't. It can be adaptable. As long as you get it into the players' heads, the roles and what they have to do, and players see this system working, like Tuchel has with Chelsea, then you can implement it in different ways. It's not a defensive setup, in my opinion. If the players are suited to it and they can play like they did yesterday, obviously the proof is in the pudding. When the tougher opposition comes around, that's when we will know. That's what's important.
When you mention the actual personnel, I mean, if you look at the way they do it, sometimes that's Bicolessa plays at right back, sometimes he plays centre back. But also Reece James plays at right back, don't he? Let's call it right wing back or right back, whichever. But Reece James is obviously more attacking than Bicolessa. So we could do that in the same formation. And when we're playing the smaller teams, perhaps we could use Sancho as the right wing back.
That's what I said to you, mate. That's exactly where I'm going with it. I think if you've got a clear plan, like you said, it has to be crystal clear for these players to get on board with it. Because if it's farting around and ifs and buts all the time, and that's when the confusion comes in. That's the way we go, then.
Honestly, there's no point talking about it because he's not going to carry on with it. He's not going to. He's going to use it.
He won't be in a job by the time he comes around, Beth.
He'll use it to stay in a job. I think he will. I honestly think he will. I think he's going to use this formation, get some draws, get some wins, stay in a job, and then he's going to go and revert back to the 4-2-3-1. He's done it before. He's done it before when he's in this position.
He's done it before, Beth. You're right.
And he'll have to.
I would love to get excited about a formation, and any team that we know we're going to play week in, week out. But I just don't see the point in speaking about it.
Right now,
it's not going to carry on.
I agree with that, but where I'm different with it this time is he's at the end. This isn't at the start. He's actually at his end right now, so he hasn't got much of an option going forward. He can't keep chopping and changing it, knowing how bad it can be. And he's had his fingers burnt this season with that formation. Right now, he's at his end. So I'm like that. I'm like, all right, what dice are you going to throw this week, Ollie? And he's thrown this one in there. And so right now, it is. This is the beauty of this whole thing. Now, either he does or he's done.
And that's why it's so confusing, isn't it? Because it's like, I was going to say, when have you ever known a manager that's basically should be sacked who changes his whole philosophy and survives? But then again, we've never known a manager that survived like he survived anyway. So he's writing the book every day. But I think if he does go with the 5-3-2, and I don't know what he's going to do. I don't think he knows what he's going to do. At least Football Manager 22's out.
I don't think he knows what he's going to do either, to be honest.
If he goes with the 5-3-2, the problem he's going to have, and I think Beth said this as well, is that if he goes with the 5-3-2, we've got Greenwood, Rashford, Sancho, who will never play. Well, Rashford will probably play. He's never going to not use McTominay and Fred. And Varane, Lindelof, Maguire, Shaw, Wan-Bissaka, they're not brilliant creative players. So I think we're going to become such a hard team to watch. We'll be a hard team to beat. We'll be a hard team to watch. And are people going to... And it goes back to what the overarching thing is. And it's interesting where the conversation's gone because but again, it comes back to standards for me. If he sticks with this, the best he will get is third or fourth, and he won't win a trophy. Well, and that's the problem. Everyone's going, let's go with this system. Let's go with this system. It won't do any better than third. So get rid of it. And if you want to do the system, get Conte in, who will play it, but play it in an attacking way.
Exactly that, mate. Because no matter what you do, we're excited about this formation. And I said it in my vlog yesterday. I think I was titled up as saying Ole Gunnar Conte Solskjaer or something like that it was, because that's exactly what I got excited about. I'm thinking, these players can play half decent in this with Solskjaer, then I know when the next man comes in, we've got a ready-made squad. Because at the end of the day, mate, no matter how much Ole Gunnar Solskjaer improves, he's never going to get better than Pep, Tuchel or Klopp. No. And that is where we're at right now. So you can argue the point that Solskjaer's doing okay. And these big red fans can say it. But at the end of the day, he's never going to be better than them 3 elite managers. So what does the club do now? If you've got a good enough squad, then why don't you go and get the best in class now, which the previous managers didn't have in terms of squad? You go out and get that next level manager now because the squad is ready for it. And that's the difference. Ollie's not going to get any better than what's in front of him in the league. It's facts. He's proved that already.
The best way you're going to do is 4th. That's the best, whatever this. I mean, I don't know what your thoughts are, Ricky, because you were saying last night that you take Conte in a heartbeat. But do you agree with that? Even if Ollie sorts all this out and we play the back 5 every week, I don't think it's going to get us in a title race anytime. I don't think he's capable of doing that. I think even if he sorts this out and we start winning games, I still don't think we'll do better than 4th.
Right, tricky question.
I mean, bloody hell, look at West Ham today. They're smashing Villa 4-1. They're bloody good. Arsenal have found a system now. They've got no European football. It's I mean, I'm saying 4th. I'm being a bit bloody arrogant saying that we should get 4th. West Ham and Arsenal look decent.
I wouldn't bet on it.
Even Palace look good.
Yeah, Palace do look good, actually.
Well, it's one game. We've played one game in this system, which has literally gone to this system because the main reason is that we've shipped 9 goals in the last 2 games.
You shit the bed.
Yeah, shipped, not shit, shipped. Yeah, so he shipped 9 goals in the last 2 games. That's why he's gone to that system. Now, if he sticks with it, we have got good players. You know, the defence is fine when you've got enough players behind the ball. Defence has been fine in the past when we've had enough players behind the ball, like against City. 2 or 3. We drew with Liverpool 0-0 last season. It is okay. Against Liverpool last week, we were playing with Greenwood and Rashford on the wings. When we were getting them draws with City or beating City, we had Dan James on the wing. So it's an extra defensive-minded player. That's why we were getting the results.
42 minutes, Dan James.
But
I'm only joking, mate.
He's a proper winger who tracks back and gets behind the ball quickly. And I've not seen enough of Sancho yet, but I fancy Sancho would as well.
Sancho in the stats for the Premier League, in the minutes he's played, he's right up there for tracking back that in the whole league, putting the work in compared to our other forwards.
He's a right winger. He is a right winger. He definitely should be playing on the right row if he plays. But then we would have to play that formation unless you want to trust him against one of the, it's an audible phrase to use, but against some of the smaller teams, whether we can trust him to play as a right wing back if he's going to keep this formation. Do you know what I mean? Look, I believe in this formation with the right players playing, because it's only in this formation, I think, that you can play both Ronaldo and Cavani.
Yeah.
I don't think we could play 4-4-2 perhaps, but I don't fancy us playing them 2 both in a 4-3-3. I really don't.
No, because you've got to put one on the wing, haven't you? And I also think that, Ronaldo's world class, and the system, as much as it's about not shipping goals, like you said, I also think a lot of it was about getting the best out of Ronaldo. Like up on his own, nothing's happening. With Cavani doing all the running for him, he's suddenly in the game again. And look, I'll be honest, a week ago, if you'd said Conte, I wouldn't have gone anywhere near it. But a week ago, we had just lost to Liverpool, so maybe 8 days ago. But I'm absolutely, after yesterday when he put that back 5 out, I was like, what? When he benches Greenwood and Rashford, who are the youth, and he puts a back 5 out, I'm like, what the bloody hell are we not? Like, the reason people said during the week they didn't want Conte, Ollie's just gone and picked a team that Conte would pick. So, for me, it's just like he's available, just get him, because I do think that, look, if we're going to, I agree with Ricky, he's got to stick with this system, whether he does like Beth or not, I don't know. But I think he has got to stick with this system because he's crap at every other system. And if we're going to stick with this system, you may as well get a guy who can actually do it. And that is Antonio Conte. Because if he sticks with this system, I mean, we were talking about this, Ricky. I actually said today, if he sticks with this system, Mason Greenwood needs to go out on loan. and I'll just qualify that before the chat goes mad. Rashford's not going to start games. Sancho isn't going to start games. Mason Greenwood's 20. I believe he is a very, very good player, but this is a critical year. He cannot go. And people will say, well, he started loads of games, Mark, but we're not playing 4-3-3 anymore. We're playing a 5. We're not playing a system that Greenwood will start in. Greenwood ain't going to start ahead of Rashford or Cavani or Ronaldo in a front two, and that's the only place he can play. So Mason Greenwood's game time could, if we stick with this system, drop drastically. He would start for half of the Premier League. So what I'm saying is Greenwood cannot be a victim of this system, much the same as Sancho or Pogba. That's what I'm talking about with Greenwood. And it opens up the question there, Beth, to all of those. What happens with Pogba in this system if we stick with it? What happens with Rashford? What happens with Greenwood? What happens with Sancho? Because I can't see Pogba coming into the team on Tuesday. Well, he might do, but where's Pogba going to start in that team yesterday if he wasn't suspended?
I think you could play Pogba in that midfield and feel a bit more comfortable, to be honest with him. I think you could play him with McTominay in there. You could play him with Fred because you have got that back five and you have got that security. So I do think Pogba would be good in that system. And I don't think he would have to worry as much about his defensive duties. I do think obviously he would still get back and he has got better at doing that. But I do think he would fit into that system quite well. I think with the likes of Rashford, what you'd see is him alternating out with Cavani, with Greenwood in that front two. God knows where Martial comes in, but the game time, like you said, is going to be extremely limited. Sancho, in my eyes, though, in that system, it's like the Van der Beek situation. I think he goes straight to the bench every single week. I don't see how he's even going to come on unless he changes the system mid-game to get him on as a substitute.
And he needs to play.
Exactly, because his confidence is going to be so low. I saw him put out on his Instagram, like, well done team yesterday and all that. But it's like, when you're sat on the bench, this team has wanted you for 2 years. Everyone was saying how much of a talent you're going to be. You're meant to be coming in. There was so much around him about how good he was going to be. He comes in and people say he did get game time. He did, but it was in small snippets. It wasn't as if he was getting played for 90 minutes, 3 games in a row. That's what you need as a player to embed yourself into a team, to build relationships. In this formation, he's never going to get that chance. And even if he did play his right wing back against the smaller teams, one, for Manchester United, you're not going to be able to do that often because Ollie, as we say, plays it safe. He shits himself. So he's not going to want to do that a lot of the time. And 2, he's not a right wing back. He's a right winger, and he shouldn't have. He does track back a lot, but he shouldn't have the burden of being a right wing back on him. He should be a right winger. He should be getting into the box. He should be assisting Ronaldo. But as you said, with Ronaldo in that other formation, he wasn't seeing enough of the ball. He was getting isolated. He was having to drop way too deep. So the back five suits Ronaldo, who is one of the best players in the world, especially with Cavani next to him yesterday, because Cavani, I thought, was amazing. He was brilliant. His work rate, his movement, everything. He's everything a centre forward should be and more. And he's a great leader as well. So that suits them two, which are arguably one of the best strikers in the world. So we've got different systems to suit different players. Our squad is not cohesive. Half our squad suit the other system, half our squad suit this system, and it's which one you're going to go with. And I just think it comes down to the fact we are so unorganised. There is no plan. And you know what? And it does come back to the board again. The board and Ollie, when they did give him that contract, they should have sat down. They should have said, what's the plan? Apparently there's been this plan for 3 years and it's all coming together. We're nearly there, Solskjaer says. It's all crap. It's not true. We keep going forward, going back, 2 steps forward, 2 steps back. And they should have sat down. They should have had a plan of what transfers are coming in, even possibly what transfers are coming in January, where you're taking this team, what's the plan for their formations. But no, every week chopping and changing. And he's been chopping and changing way before he's changed his system with players. But now he's actually changed his system as well, just to save his job. It's just so unorganised. And like you said, Mark, if you would have said Conte to me 2 weeks ago, I would have been like, no, not a chance. I don't want to play that type of football. I don't want to play with the back five. But now I've been so drained of the way that we've been playing, not in this system. And then the way that we played yesterday, I was thinking to myself, yes, we've won 3-0, but like all you guys said, Conte could execute this system a lot better and we could play a lot more attacking. And I was looking at Conte's stats. He's won the league 5 times out of his last 7 seasons. 5 times he's won the league out of his last 7 seasons. He is a winner. And that's something, I don't even know if Solskjaer believes it himself, because he was part of that team that he won the treble. He knows what it's like under winning mentality. He knows what the standards are at Manchester United. And when he comes out and says, we're nearly there, I think I can do it with this team. I actually don't think I believe him, because he's had chance after chance after chance now. And each time we just keep going backwards. We keep going into this situation where he nearly loses his job. We get to semi-finals, we get to cup finals. Oh, we didn't quite make it. And I just don't think I can see, like Adam said before, him managing to get to that level of a Klopp, a Tuchel, a Pep, a Conte. He's just not ever going to get there. So what is the point of carrying on with it when eventually it is going to have to be goodbye? Because it's going to come to a time, no matter what system he plays, if he's not won a title, if he's not won a trophy, or he's still bottling these finals, then fans are going to ask questions. And realistically, the board need to sit down, need to think to themselves, is he going to take us to where we want to be? Is he going to win us a league title? And from what I've seen, and from what I've seen this season, it's a no. So why stick with someone that's not going to do that?
It's funny, isn't it? Because if you think about last week, he came out after the Liverpool game and was asked about whether he'd be sacked. And he said, it would be a shame because we're so close. And then the next game, he rips up his own plan and plays a back five. It's like,
oh, crap.
What do you think we're going to forget that? Because fans actually analyse your plan. And that's the thing. You mentioned the board, Beth, there. The board have given him a 3-year contract and bought Jadon Sancho on a plan that he's been working for 2.5 years. And now they're sticking by him because they want to be part of the plan. But the plan's not the same it was a week ago. This is a brand new plan. He's basically, like when you die on a computer game and you come back. That's basically what's happened. We should call him bloody Patrick Swayze or something. It's Halloween, isn't it? He's come back.
Even if he did sit down with the board and asked him about his plan, the board know nothing about football anyway. So he's going to sit down and say, oh, this is my plan. They're going to go, great, sounds amazing. They don't know what's going on.
It's a new plan. This whole thing, Adam, it's a new plan. It's the most ridiculous thing because he should have been sacked. And I think let's move on from that. But what we're doing now is not what he was doing a week ago or what he's been done for the last 2 years or what he tried to buy in the summer. And, it would be nice. I mean, the press conference on Friday was awful. There was not one decent question. But what they need to ask him is, what's your plan now then? Because it's not the plan of a week ago. And what's your plan with Marcus Rashford and Mason Greenwood and Jadon Sancho? Well, I know what he'll say. We've got a good squad.
Can I just say we need to get it into our heads about the personnel, right? This isn't just this season. This goes back to last season. With Greenwood on the wing and Rashford on the wing and Bruno at number 10, we lost to Villarreal. We drew with Fulham. We got beat 4-2 at home by Liverpool only 6 months ago, and now 5-0 this time. There's not enough players playing correctly in those positions. It's not the defender's fault. It's not even Max Fred's fault. I'd love to say this to Keano. If Keenan Scholes would have played in midfield for us against Liverpool, we still would have got battered.
One thing everyone's forgetting as well. One thing. Ricky talks about personnel. Yeah, Ricky talks about personnel. But one thing that's forgotten in all of this, we're talking about the likes of Greenwood and Rashford. All they know is Ole. All they know is his coaching setup. So how can these players be judged when they've not had the opportunity to work under a proper tactician, proper coaching? Because I look at Pogba. Yeah, I look at Pogba, I look at Greenwood, I look at Rashford. It just looks like he loves them as mates. Go out there, do your thing. There's no plan with them at all. And I think they've got worse. I do think they've got worse under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. We're talking about how do we fit these players into this squad. Right now under Solskjaer, they don't. But under Conte, they could. That's how I'm looking at it. I don't think it's fair on the likes of Greenwood. All he knows is Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. That's all he knows. That's it. And for me, I feel like someone getting hold of him, he could be absolutely amazing. He could. He's just not had the opportunity yet. He's now not going to England because of the coaching that he's getting at Manchester United. He's not even thought about. At the moment, like you said, then you're talking about maybe loaning out the Greenwoods. Maybe Rashford doesn't fit, Sancho doesn't fit in. It's really unfair on these players that we've given Ole Gunnar Solskjaer this opportunity because he really shouldn't be in a job getting this formation now. And these players are the ones that are going to end up losing out. That's where we're at. It's the players are the ones that are going to lose out. I think Pogba will lose out. Rashford, Greenwood, Martial, all these players are going to lose out in this system now that Ole's got. It's brilliant. And like I said yesterday, it's great. Yeah, take your plaudits, enjoy your press conference. But when you go back to that training ground and you get the knock on the door and the players start kicking off again, that's when they're going to see your minerals, mate. Because if you can't fit these players into this system, then automatically, and you look, I'm saying here, I'm looking at Rashford, Greenwood, Sancho, World Cup coming up for England. Their places are not guaranteed now. Do you know what I mean? This system, I know they've still been in the job and being given the chance to change this and this whole plan, is going to end up ruining a lot of players' careers. Until Ole Gunnar Solskjaer goes, I don't think we're going to see the best of all of them players. Where's Lingard at? Where's Lingard at?
Adam, Sancho and Van der Beek, I can agree with you, is ruining their careers. I don't agree with you that he's ruined Greenwood's career. Imagine the minutes.
Why though? Why not?
Because of the time that he's had on the pitch.
Yeah, but in the coaching,
he's not the coaching still with it.
Even so, Sancho deserves to play. Well, look, the way Greenwood plays, whether it's to do with the coaching or not, he should have been dropped, and Sancho should have been playing on the right wing.
So he's coaching.
That's not his fault.
He's coaching because if the coach is the only one who can take him off the pitch, mate, then it's his fault. If he's not playing well, see you later, mate. Off you come. But if he keeps him on and then keeps playing him the week after, like he does with everyone else in this team, who are his favourites, then that's all his fault. Because all they're thinking is, I've done enough to keep my place next week.
All I'm saying is,
Sancho and Van der Beek.
The players whose careers are getting ruined are the ones who haven't been given a chance.
But that's what you're saying, Ricky. This is jump in. I mean,
Sancho's not been given a chance.
Actually, Ricky, on that, I don't agree.
Greenwood's growth. He's stunting Greenwood's growth. He's not ruining his career, but he's stunting his growth. Look at the steady improvement of Foden and how well Pep integrated him into that team, slowly drip-feeding him into the team, got him that hunger, got him that desire, and then he's evolved his game so much. He has come on leaps and bounds, and for me, he's probably going to be one of the best players in the world in a few years, very, very soon. But Greenwood, he's got so much potential, and he has the potential to be on that level. I still think he's an amazing player, and I would want him in this team, to be honest with you.
I said it weeks ago. I got to a stage, Beth, a few weeks ago where it doesn't matter who comes in. I'm actually thinking now, Solskjaer's doing Sancho and Donny van der Beek a favour by not playing them, because he doesn't know what he's doing in this system. So if the coach doesn't know what he's doing in this system and he's sending players out who don't belong in this system or aren't trained properly in this system, then he's making them look worse. I do think that Greenwood's best performance of the season was at centre forward. And now
Ricky,
he's playing on the wing.
Let's just go back to what you were saying, though, because I agree with what Adam's saying there. But was that not what you were saying anyway when you said with Keane and Scholes would suffer in this system? Are you saying that's because of Rashford and Greenwood not tracking back? Yeah, but surely that is a coaching issue, because if those players aren't tracking back, you sub them off for Sancho, who Beth rightly said is one of the best tracking back right wingers in the league.
It is a coaching problem, and also it's the manager's problem for picking the team in the first place and picking the players in those positions. It all can be pinned on the manager. I do agree with that, but I think the main ingredient in tough games like that is to pick the players who will do it right. Now, I agree with you that maybe you can coach them better and they would do it better if you'd been coaching them to play like that. But let's just say you came into that game fresh tomorrow. You as Man United's manager tomorrow, and you've seen them play. Let's just say you're a 4-4-2 man and you're playing Liverpool. You know that your two wide men have got to track the fullbacks. You cannot leave Robertson and Trent Alexander space to run into and you chasing them back. When they get the ball, you've got to drop into position. You've got to be behind the ball when they receive the ball. You don't want to be chasing them back. Now, certain players understand that, don't need to be coached that. It's just natural to how they play the game. Just natural. I know I've just mentioned Dan James. I believe Sancho would play like that. Really, proper wingers would play like that. I think I'm right in saying that both Greenwood and Rashford came through the system as centre forwards. Am I right in saying that, Adam?
Yeah.
Yeah, you pretty much just backed up my point there, mate. Because Ole Solskjaer's, he's tried to make them into something that they're not. That's not their fault. They're going to do whatever they can to play in United's team.
He tells them to hang on hang on to their defenders, and I'm pretty sure he tells them to not track back so he can use the counter attack, and so Rashford can keep making them runs in behind that he actually does very, very well.
Against Liverpool.
No, I'm not saying. No, I don't think he's saying tell him not to track back, but he's definitely telling him to stay on the last man. 100%. Why would you not get back otherwise? Why would you just stay there?
No, he was nowhere near Trent.
Getting back to what Mark said, by the way, because you mentioned Keano again. You know, Keano's slating the defenders in the midfield from the Liverpool game. If Keenan Scholes would, I'd love to speak to him about it. If Keenan Scholes were playing central midfield for us against Liverpool, there could be one slight difference, by the way. There could be a big difference. Keano would probably say to Greenwood, I'm going to fill your head in at half time if you don't drop back here. Do you know what I mean? So that could help in that respect. But if those players just played like they played anyway, we still would have got murdered, whoever was in midfield.
I just think, you know, at the start of the season, we were talking about our ideal 11s, and everybody said you can't play Ronaldo, Greenwood, and Rashford. You've got to have a wide player that's creative. You can't have two wide forwards who both want to shoot and don't track back. And Greenwood and Rashford are the same player. They're not. I know who I prefer, but I'm not going to say it's not about that. But they're both wide forwards who aren't very good at tracking back and aren't very good at creating anything for the striker. Now, Ollie has thrown both players under the bus because they've both been dropped from Liverpool, but they should never have been playing together. It should be Rashford and Sancho, or it should be Pogba and Greenwood, because at least then you've got Sancho's creative and Pogba's creative, and the other one has license. And yet, after the Liverpool game, he knew why we lost that game. It's because those two wide forwards didn't track back and we got overwhelmed. But I think he's thrown them under the bus because of his own incompetence, because we never should have been playing two wide forwards in the first place. And that, to me, is 100% on the coaching. And I think that's how I feel about it. And I think everything comes back to the coaches. Because they're individual players, aren't they? They're players that can win a game out of nothing. So he wants two of them on the pitch.
Yeah, that's it. He's just putting players in positions that don't belong there and telling them to do a job that, like Ricky says, that you're naturally born to do and you can naturally do. So why would you put players in that position that aren't what they originally came through into this team for? If you get brought in from the youth system, or you're bought in for how you performed a certain way at the previous club or in the youth team, why would you change that? That just beggars belief. It's ridiculous. And that's what's happened. It's like Ricky said then with Greenwood and Rashford. Right now, the only way this works for them is they fight against two of the best centre-forwards in the world, in Cavani and Ronaldo. And let's be honest, if we're going to play this system with us not creating much through the middle, then you would rather have two of the best headers of the ball for the crossing sense as well, because I know who I'd want on the end of a cross. It wouldn't be Greenwood and Rashford, it would be Cavani and Ronaldo. So if you are going to put balls in and cross balls, then Rashford and Greenwood don't come into it. And does that mean then that you have to change it a little bit again to accommodate Greenwood and Rashford? This is the problem he's got right now. And I don't think he's got the capability to manage this with all of these players. That's my biggest concern from what I watched yesterday. As good as it was for the day and the team we played against, I'm thinking long term, I think we're going to lose some young talent. And you were all talking then about maybe loaning out a Greenwood or something. I mean, I just don't see how.
I'm thinking about his career.
I just don't see how. Ollie will never get rid of the players. I know he won't. But what will change everything is if a new manager comes in. Because like you said last week, Mark, you need someone to come in who's not a United man, who's going to come in and just change everything. He's going to F shit up and go his way. And the players are going to have to fall in line. And there's going to be some big casualties because our recruitment system, along with Ollie and the players that have been brought in, it's just completely scrambled up our squad. And there's some big names going. When the next manager comes in, I guarantee there will be some fans' favourites and some surprise outings, because there's no way. There's zero balance with what we've got right now for this way forward. And you know what? The manager is the most important man. That's what Sir Alex Ferguson said. Problem is, I don't think Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has got that sort of charisma. He's not got the pedigree to stand up and be that man. The next one coming in, that's going to be the biggest. That's going to be the biggest managerial appointment that this football club makes since Sir Alex Ferguson has left, I think, now, because
100%.
we've got a big squad. It's going to take someone with some balls to come in and just dissect it, and it has to be their way.
Well, it's interesting, isn't it? I mean, I'll go back to you, Beth, on this one, because it's like, if you think about it, again, this is why Ollie should have been sacked, because he's now playing a different system and he's dropping different players. You know, most of the season, I mean, I know Rashford was injured, but as soon as he's back, he's straight into the team. You know, I think his first game back was against Leicester. Greenwood started a lot of games this season. He basically should have lost his job, and it's Rashford and Greenwood get on the bench, and it's a complete change of system. And the interesting thing is, like Adam says, if you bring a new manager in and he walks in and he goes, you know what, Cavani, I don't want to use you. You know what, Ronaldo, I don't want to use you. Everyone will go, oh, but it's a new manager. He'd be like, I ain't bought him. I don't want him. And that's what a new manager does. And Adam's right. You know, there might be some shocks. The problem with Ollie now is that because he's been given this second chance where he's turned 360, he's now saying, yeah, Greenwood, you know, I started you for every game. I'm not using you anymore. And Donny, yeah, I'm still not using you. Sancho, I'm not using you as well. Tellez, I'm not using you. Rashford, I did use a lot, but now you're just going to be a bench player. It's just chaos, you know. And someone said career killer FC. Well, he has killed a few careers, but I think it's this is something the club might not be looking at as well, because in the summer, Cavani's definitely gone. Donny's going as soon as he can. Pogba's gone. Tellez will go. Bailly will go. Martial will go. Ahmad will go. You know, Lingard won't sign a new contract.
But Ahmad, so, another winger,
that will fit into. You're getting on for 8-9 good players that are gonna go just under Ollie. Mm-hmm. So this long-term plan, it just doesn't exist.
It doesn't exist. I want to know. I mean, I know why I got certain players in, but for example, to not even use Tellers in some games, to not even, I think Donny van der Beek's had 8 minutes or something this season, something stupid like that.
4.
It's 4 minutes, that's it. And it's just like the way how unbalanced the squad is crazy to me. It's like a complete divide, and there's players that are just completely isolated, and there's players that's like, you're my player, and that's the way it looks. And do you know what? I think in Ollie's head, he thinks attacking football, Greenwood and Rashford, keep it safe, back 5. That's literally what it is in Ollie's head. But you can play with Rashford, and like you said, you'd have to put Sancho on because you need some sort of creativity and someone to track back. And you can play with Greenwood, but maybe with Pogba on the wing. You can do that. You can change it week in, week out. We've always said if you just change the odd player and stick to the formation, don't make loads of changes, but you can change the odd player. He creates a steady team, it creates a steady balance, and he can do that. But instead, he goes full force. The same players getting minutes every single week. McTominay, Rashford, Greenwood just getting played and played and played. And then the same players getting absolutely no minutes. You can balance it. You can have your set team and interchange a couple of players to make the system work. And I just don't think he's understood how to do that. He's like either Rashford and Greenwood together, full force, or no, we're going to play more defensive. We're going to play a back 5 now with Ronaldo and Cavani. It's not one or the other. I do actually think if we stick with the back 5, I think Rashford will be safe. I think he'll play in the front 2 with Ronaldo and alternate with Cavani. I think it's Martial and Greenwood that are going to really suffer along with Sancho. So it's going to be really interesting to see. But like you said, what bothers me the most out of everything is that there's just no plan. And you know what? If you're a manager and you've got your philosophy, you've got your plan, you've seen Pep every single time we play against him. Even though he knows we play counter-attacking football, he won't change the way he plays because that is his philosophy and that is what he stands by. Ollie doesn't have a philosophy, and even the philosophy he does have, the 4-2-3-1, which hasn't seemed to be working, he's not stuck by it. And he's if you're gonna so obsessed with something and you want to make it work, you stick by it. But he's not done that. If you're gonna go out of Manchester United and you're gonna get sacked, at least go out sticking by your philosophy and sticking by the reason you got the job. I don't want to see him keep chopping and changing, keep reverting back to type, because there will never be any progress if we keep doing that. To progress, you've got to have, like we've always said, the same 11, the same formation, players knowing the roles completely. The way that all of the elite teams in the league do, they all know the roles. And then the players that come in and chop and change, when you're using the squad, you're keeping it balanced, you're giving players rest. You can swap and change a few different players for certain games. When they come in, they know exactly their role as well, because they know exactly what position they're coming into. They know exactly who's dropping out for them, and everyone's well organised. The way I describe Manchester United at the moment, completely unorganised and clueless. Everybody's clueless about what's going on. I think Sancho sat there and I don't think he has any idea of what point he's coming into this team and what the plan is for him. As soon as he came in, he should have been told the plan with him, what's going to happen with him. Now we should be getting told that. I don't think he knows. Pogba's been here for 5-6 years. He's still not properly got the plan. He still doesn't know what position he plays in. So it's just so unorganised, and it's frustrating because if you're going to do something, at least stick by it and try and do it right. But we keep doing something. If it doesn't work, we'll try something else. Or what we've been doing recently is just doing the same thing over and over and over again and not expecting different results. It just screams of cluelessness and desperation, in my opinion. I know we won 3-0, but it sets you back in your head. You're like, yeah, but what now? Because you've just done that with a completely new setup. It's so confusing to the fans as well.
It is. Ricky, I wanted to ask you about that. It just prompted in my head. I know you're a fan of Van der Beek, and you were talking there about Sancho getting a chance, but I mean, I think Donny should have been given a chance. I think Donny had worked well in that system yesterday. Actually, I thought Fred and McTominay did well, but they were very limited. They didn't really break. With the back five, there is an opportunity, like Adam said with Pogba, there's an opportunity to get forward. And I think that would suit Donny more than a 4-2-3-1, because he has got that comfort blanket behind him of 3 centre-backs. But just going back to what Beth said there, I mean, and whenever Sancho gets mentioned, and it was before the change of formation, he wasn't starting. And yet we've tracked him for 2 years and spent £74 million on him. What do you think? Because you've been around the club for a very long time. What do you think when we're buying the Donny van der Beeks for 35 million, the Amad Diallo, that deal goes north of 30 million, Tellez costs 15 million, Sancho costs 74 million. He's buying these players, and Grealish went straight in the Man City team. Pep obviously wanted him. What do you think about that? Do you think actually Ollie is buying these players, or do you think he's buying them and he's too scared to get them in the team?
It's absolutely mind-boggling, mate. I can't get my head around it. Either he's not buying them, or he's a complete imbecile. you buy a £70 million winger and barely use him at all, and certainly hardly use him whatsoever in his best position. When he has played, he's played on the left, and he's definitely better on the right. And not only is he better on the right, but with Ronaldo in the lineup, he'd also give him a bit of service. It'd suit Ronaldo better as well, having a right-footed right winger. So I don't know I really don't know what to think. You've got to think that maybe someone else is buying the players and without consulting him, because it's just bizarre. It is absolutely bizarre. £75 million for a right winger who, according to everybody you speak to, is a future golden player. Like, you know what I mean? And we just don't give him like you just said. And Beth touched on it earlier. In this system, he's never going to get a game unless you do try him as a right wing back. He's never going to get a game in this system. But then, like you just said, even before we went to this system, he wasn't getting in. So how far down the queue is he now? And he was 75 million quid.
Well,
Lingard's in front of him from what we've seen recently. Lingard, who basically thought he was going to go to West Ham, basically wasn't getting played in the Carabao Cup this time last year. Again, no plan. I mean, he deserved to go out on loan. He did well, but it should have ended there unless he wanted to be a super sub. But there's barely any room for him to be that now. And you're seeing him come on before a £70-odd million, 20-year-old winger, the new up-and-coming talent. And I just don't get it. I don't understand.
I think it's a lack of trust. Go on, sorry, Ricky.
Before Lingard went to West Ham, during that season before he went to West Ham, he was fit most of the time. He was
just never played him.
He was rarely getting on the bench.
No,
he was rarely getting on the bench. What's happened? I just don't get it.
No one does get it.
I want to ask you, Adam, anyway, but just before I do, I think the thing for me with Ollie is you see it with McTominay, you said it with Fred, you've seen it with Lindelof. He shits himself and just goes with somebody that he trusts. It's not really about ability. It's about trust. And I think with Sancho, he doesn't know enough about him to trust him. But what I was going to say to you, Adam, about Sancho is that and I tweeted this out this morning, I think the Sancho situation is becoming dangerous because we're in November now. It's November tomorrow. We bought him in July. We spent 74 million pounds on him. I've seen clubs like Arsenal spend 70 million on Pepe, and it only takes a couple of months for you to be a flop. The scary thing is that when Arsenal bought Pepe, he became a flop because he wasn't playing well, but he was starting. Sancho comes into the team. When he does start, he's on the left wing. When he does start, he gets subbed or he's on the bench. We're now 3 months into the season. He's becoming a flop of not of his own design. Like we've changed the system. The team's a bloody mess. And I just look at Ollie again, and I keep coming back to Ollie all the time and going, you've bought this young lad that we're all excited about. Pep's put Grealish straight into the team and trusted him. You've not trusted him, and now your season's gone to shit, and you're not going to trust him anyway. You're basically turning. It's the same as Donny. You're in danger of turning a player into a flop through no fault of their own because they've not even been given a chance.
It goes back to what I said before, mate, with elite managers. Tuchel, Lukaku, knew what he wanted, went out and got him, big money. Grealish, 100 million, British record. He knew what he wanted, Pep, went out and got it because they've already got a system in place that works and they go out and pick players that fit that system. Ollie hasn't got a system, and that's why we're seeing what we got with Jadon Sancho. That's what we're seeing now we've got with Donny van de Beek. Amad Diallo, you could add Palestri to it. He's another player that was brought in. You know what? You add all these players together, then you could have gone and got a Haaland. But honestly, a Haaland could come into this team and he won't fit in because there's no system there. There's nothing. I mean, you've seen what Haaland tweeted out as soon as Sancho left. One of the most sought-after strikers in world football right now. When Sancho left Dortmund, you could see it. He was devastated that he'd gone because he knew what he had with him. That there has been completely lost as soon as Sancho has been bought for Manchester United because it was Ole Gunnar Solskjaer that bought him. And they're the hard facts because Solskjaer hasn't got a system. We're talking now that he's just scrapped his 3-year plan because he was desperate, like Ricky said, because he shipped 9 goals and he did shit the bed. So now it's all about Ole. And I just think he's probably, without knowing, one of the most selfish men in football because it's all about him. That's what it's about with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. And players are going to go by the wayside. Sancho is next in line. He is. Donny, we've seen what's happened with Donny. I guarantee you, if Donny van de Beek went to a City, he'd have gone there for a reason. He would have. For that amount of money. Same with Sancho. We've not even brought Pogba into this yet. Pogba, again, another £90 million player. Obviously, there are issues with Jose and what happened there behind the scenes, but Ollie knows this player. Ollie coached him. Oh, God, there's a worry. Ollie coached him when he was in the youth setup for United. He knows what he's all about. Can't fit him in the team. We're talking the biggest game in world football. 74 million, 89 million, 40 million, sat on the bench because our manager doesn't know what system he's playing and what players suit each role better. All he knows is, like you said, it's like Fred and McTominay will run yards and yards and yards, and that's it. That's what he goes back to. He reverts back to it every single time. And it does ultimately come down to Ollie not being an elite manager and not knowing what he needs to fit in. You give Klopp 200 million, he would go straight out and buy players that fit his philosophy and style and system. Tuchel, Pep, exactly the same. That's elite management. That's what they know. Conte is the same as that. Conte would come in, and this is why I said he would upset a lot of people, because first of all, he would have to probably dissect the squad before he bought players in, Conte. And this is what I mean. He may come in and go, Rashford, Greenwood gone. Then we'll see what the hardcore United fans start kicking up a stink. You know what I mean? If you're going to back a manager like you're backing a manager now, then the next one that comes in, you have to give the same to. And I guarantee a lot of the fans' favourites, like I said, will be out of this team. They will be, because it has to be about that manager's system. But we haven't got one. And that's why these players are being left by the roadside for me. And the careers are going down the Swanee because they don't fit in. No one knows where they fit in. We talked about Greenwood and Rashford being converted to try and fit a so-called system that doesn't exist. Sancho can't get in. Donny can't get in. Pogba can't get in now. Mate, there's a lot wrong with our squad right now.
They're not getting in because they're not good enough, are they? And it goes back to
they are good enough in a role, but we don't know what role it is because they haven't seen them.
That's what I mean. They're not getting in because they're not good enough. And look, there will be fans out there who are going, oh, look at them moaning. And the same thing I'll say again is, you know, when you're doing your little clips or your little goldfish quotes or anything like that, please tell us why it's so good. That's all. I don't mind anybody having any problem with any of our opinions in the chat or any of the guests involved tonight. But please tell us why it's so good, because none of us can figure it out. And look, other than blind loyalty to a decision that was made by the Glazers, your loyalty to Ollie and this team is only because the Glazers are saving their own arse. So standards is what it's all about. And I'm telling you now, I can't see this team, even if we stick with the back five, finishing any better than fourth, and we won't win the Champions League. So this season will not be what last season was, but people are saying stick with it. And I tell you what, if he sticks with this system, forget Ahmad, forget Hannibal Mabry, forget Alanga, forget Donny van der Beek, forget Rashford, forget Greenwood. They ain't going to be Sancho, they ain't Pogba, they ain't even going to be part of this. So basically, we're just Ollie's survival club. That's all I see. And people want to go, yeah, but we beat Spurs, let's keep at it. But Amad Diallo is one of the most exciting young players in football. A year of his career is gone since he's been at United. Donny van der Beek's lost 2 years. Sancho's only lost 3 months so far. Alanga, Hannibal Mabry are very good young players that won't even get near the bench. So where is the plan? And I suppose that's. I mean, Ricky, I saw you nodding your head about Pogba. I mean, I don't know whether you have the same opinions about Pogba. But
very, very interesting about Pogba, because like Adam used the phrase shoehorning the two wide lads into the team, which he does shoehorn them into the team, in my opinion. But the same's been happening with Pogba. He's had quite a few games wide on the left, but now we're not playing with anybody wide on the left. So he's now competing. Where else can he play? He can play either in McTominay's role or Fred's role. Not that I wouldn't choose him in front of... Look, I rate McTominay higher than most do, and I do think he had a great game yesterday. But I certainly have Pogba in front of Fred. Well, I don't think Ollie's going to see it like that. So he's competing with McTominay, he's competing with Fred. The only other position I could see him operating in is like in Bruno's position. Yeah. So I think...
it's crazy to think Pogba is competing with McTominay and Fred.
Yeah, well, he is though, isn't he? You know what I mean? So I know. I mean, like you just said, he's not suspended in the European Cup. Normally,
do you think he'll start him on Tuesday, Ricky?
It's that important that we get a point out of it. Let's get it. Let's get a point behind us before we desperate for a point in Villarreal. You know what I mean? Because we're desperate for a point in this game, I think he might go with the exact same 11. Is Cavani going to be fit? Or do you
I think he'll play Rashford for the pace, won't he?
On that point that Ricky said there, he's that dependent on getting that draw. Previous game, we were that dependent on winning Atalanta. He didn't get in the team then. So where the hell does this guy fit in this team? Where does Pogba fit in this team? If you need a goal, you'd have thought... probably Pogba fits in there, probably in the midfield more, because we did need to win the Atalanta game, because you got to win your home games, as it said. But it's like that. Then if you want to get a draw, Pogba doesn't fit in. If you want to get a win, Pogba doesn't fit in. Pogba doesn't fit in.
I personally think there's been a big fallout between Pogba and Ollie. I know we're not allowed to say that because it's a lie, but I don't think it. Here's another one, Ricky. I mean, it's a bit off topic, but I was drinking my milk this morning and I didn't put it away, and I looked at the side of the carton and I saw Mata on it. What's happened to Juan Mata? Where is he?
He's got no chance, especially now. He was already behind. I mean, obviously, whenever we did use him, we tended to use him wide on the right. He was already behind.
Yeah, he's got no chance in this system then. Right wing back, Juan Mata.
Been behind Greenwood for me, by the way. Would have been better against Liverpool with Juan Mata in that position. You need people who are just going to do the job right. Just do
too slow though, isn't he now?
Just be there. Doesn't matter. Just be there. You know what I mean? James Milner's not quick, is he? Or Jordan Henderson. Do you know what I mean? So,
But you know what? The reason I asked you is, I mean, what do you think about?
He's obviously got no chance. He'd get more game time if it was up to me, but he's obviously got no chance whatsoever now. He's never going to set foot on the pitch. We're out of the League Cup. You know what I mean?
lost it. The reason I ask is because I lost it in the week. I really didn't want Ollie to be here anymore, and I was losing it about everything. And I was going, Van der Beek lied to, Bailly lied to, because Bailly signed the new contract and doesn't get picked over an injured Maguire. So, they've obviously got him to sign a new contract by saying, you've got a chance. Van der Beek,
he should have signed it,
you've
though,
got a chance.
realistically. Looking back on the last few years.
No, but Mata Ricky has obviously been, he could have gone for free. He could be over in Spain, drinking some sangria, playing games for, I don't know, Granada or something like that. He's stuck in Manchester in the rain doing nothing.
Juan Mata would get plenty of game time in the Premier League for dozens. Well, there isn't dozens of teams in it, but for probably 60% of the teams in the Premier League would give Juan Mata loads of game time. Wouldn't have to move to Spain or anything to get game time. Really,
I just don't understand why he signed the contract. Really, because it's almost like he left. I mean, has he played a minute this year? I presume he has.
He's only in the League Cup. He played against West Ham in the League Cup. I don't think he's come on elsewise, has he? I don't think so.
He's not.
I don't think he's been on the bench recently.
He's
not got any Premier League.
If Marcel can get on the bench, then what chance has he got getting on the bench?
We said that, didn't we, with the unbalance of the squad? It's like when everyone's fit, how many forwards are you going to put on that bench? You need some defenders and some midfielders on it, but you only have to roll out.
Yesterday.
You have to roll out the name of the name of forwards we've got, and someone's going to be sacrificed on the bench because you do need a little bit of balance there in case you get injuries. We said this a while ago, and we thought that the club were going to be acting in the summer and sort of cutting down the numbers in the squad, but like you said, everyone's signing new deals, and we're like, what? Why?
Hey, somebody, Adam, just said there, maybe Matt is doing a bit of coaching. Let's not start blaming Matter on the bloody coaching. He's had it bad enough. Blaming it on Matter.
Matter would not want a coaching job at Manchester United, and under this setup, believe me.
Apparently, he does.
Wow.
I read.
He's a glutton for punishment.
When Elanga played against Wolves and he had a great game and we won 2-1 at the end of last season, and Wolves had a strong team out and we had a full reserve team out. Juan Mata played and Elanga played. I read a comment from Elanga. I don't know if any of you read it. That Elanga apparently said that Juan Mata took him to one side before the game and said, just get hold of the ball, get it under control, pass it simple every time you get it, and you'll play really well. Now that's coaching. And
everyone rates Mata highly in that squad.
I bet a good money.
And
if Mata took over the job this week, he'd do a better job than Ollie.
Hey,
I reckon if Mata had took the job on Monday as interim, he'd do a better job than Ollie, because I just think he just strikes me the sort of guy who probably knows what he's on about, which is half the game, isn't it? It really is.
I don't want any more United players in that dugout apart from the players.
Actually, that is a great question, Adam, because we've been through this. We've got to ask Ricky. I presume you'd sack... If I'm Ed Woodward and I said, Ricky, you're the man. This is your moment, Ricky. You're the man. 1, should we sack Ollie?
100%.
2, who are we getting in as a manager? I'll go and get anyone. I can't get Pep and Klopp, but I'll go and get the Ajax coach. I'll try and get Enrique from Spain, Zidane, Conte, Potter. You tell me, Ricky, and we're going to go and do it. Who would you go for?
Well, you'd have to go. I think it'd be silly not to go with Conte, really. He's just a black... Who said it? Was it Beth that said it? Has he won 5 titles in the last 7 8 years?
In the last 7 seasons.
I think it'd be silly.
He's a serial winner. He's a serial winor.
Premier League proven as well, which I don't think United have realised, because I think they thought he didn't.
For us lot sat here, having watched United for the last... For me, this has been going on... Look, we scraped so many games last year, so luckily, if this has been going on 12 or 18 months, it's not just the last few weeks. And as I said earlier, certainly towards the end of last season, we stopped scraping them lucky wins, getting battered by Liverpool, drawing with Fulham at Old Trafford. Get your head round it. They were a relegated team and we had a full-strength team out. Do you know what I mean?
To Sheffield United. In the season they were shit, not in the season they were good.
We've been shocking for ages. Do you know what I mean? Suddenly...
Ricky, I don't know whether you saw the press conference. I think it was meant to be... Ollie's press conferences are great. If you ever need a pick-me-up, just watch it. Actually, it might depress you if you take it too seriously. But he actually said, and this was on Friday when no one thought he should have lost the job, he actually said, I do back myself because I've been in this position 3 or 4 times before already. And I just thought, well, is that not the hint that you shouldn't be here?
If you look back at the beginning of last season, I mentioned before us getting beat 6. I mean, everybody remembers us getting beat 6-1 by Spurs. I think it was only the 3rd or 4th game of the season. But I don't think people remember at the same time that we'd already lost to Crystal Palace at Old Trafford, even though it was only like the third game of the season. You know, we've been here before.
We have been here before, because we've been here before. I remember losing to Burnley just before we bought Bruno, and I actually said Ollie out and fed up with him, and then we bought Bruno, and I was like, I can't be Ollie out now because I wanted Bruno. So I definitely remember us going into December before, where we had Man City and Spurs, and everyone expected him to lose, and if he loses that, he's going to lose his job. Istanbul last year, we were talking to Poch. So he's right. There's definitely 3 or 4 occasions he's been in this position before. And that, to me, is just why I will not be coming back and saying Ollie in unless he's holding that Premier League trophy in May. And I tell you what, that's not going to happen. So I'm not coming back. I'm not getting behind something that, you know, it's the definition of insanity, isn't it? To keep trying to do the same thing again and expecting a different outcome. We're going to get... I wouldn't be surprised if we went and... I mean, let's talk about the week ahead. We'll all have our opinion on it. But I wouldn't be surprised if we did quite well against Man City and Atalanta and Villarreal and Chelsea and Arsenal, and he goes on a run, and then late December we'll play somebody absolutely shit and we'll lose and be rubbish, and then we'll be going, yeah, this is what we expect. But let's start with you, Beth. Atalanta and Man City this week. Some people think it's going to be a pivotal week, and then if he loses to City, he'll be out of a job in the international break. What's going to happen this week?
I think we'll beat Atalanta. I don't know if he's going to use the back 5 for Atalanta. I'm assuming he will. I'm assuming he'll stick with it because he needs the points there. And then for City, I don't think that performance against Tottenham gave me faith that we're going to go and beat City. I think it could be a draw. It could be a draw, but I feel like if he beat Atalanta and got beat by City, he'll still be in the job. If he beats Atalanta and he draws with City, he'll still be in the job. If he loses to Atalanta, that's when I start to question it, because it's Champions League then, and we've come back in the Champions League and we're in a good position now. And Champions League is massive because he dropped out the group last year and it was a massive commotion, and that's why he ended up getting pressured on his job. And we're speaking to Pochettino, and fans are expecting a lot from the Champions League this year. We've got the serial winner of the Champions League. We've got Cristiano Ronaldo, and he's going to be expecting to go far, and it'll cause a lot of unrest with the players as well if we end up somehow dropping out of that group, which is possible. So I think the Champions League is a massive game. Again, with the league, to beat City, I think, are they 3 points ahead of us? If we beat City, we're on the same points as them, which is a good position to be in. It's not great because we should be aiming for the top, but it's a decent position to be in. So he could
still be 8 points behind Chelsea, though, if we beat City.
Yeah, so it's not good enough, but he could turn it around. And he could get some of the pressure off his back. But I still think even if he scrapes by, he'll still be in a job. He has to lose both, I think, to even be considered getting the sack under this board. I feel like if they didn't do it after the Liverpool game, I don't really see it happening. I think, like you said, it's about money. Don't want to pay off his contract. Don't want to pay off all his coaching staff's contract. Don't want to go and pay Conte the big money he wants. Don't want to pay all of his staff. And I also think they are worried and they're clueless and they never saw this coming. So unless something really drastic happens, I still see him being in charge. I think the real big one was the Liverpool game. And then if he lost to Spurs as well on the back of that, I think that would have been him goodbye. But after pulling that result back, he's got another 2 games now to try and get the pressure off his back. And like we said before, we've seen it before with him. And that's the trouble. Top managers, fair enough, needing time to come in and adapt and needing time to improve, and fair enough, having a little bit of a bad dip in form. But to constantly be going back to this point where we have such a bad run of form, and like you said, 3 or 4 times, that shows that there's no plan. That shows that there's no eliteness there. So I think he'll hang on to his job, but it's just when it's going to happen, and probably will be the end of the season.
£7.5 million to pay Ollie off, and remember they only gave Mick Phelan a new contract about 2 weeks ago. So you can see why they don't want to end all of this, because they're incompetent and they don't want to accept their own mistakes. I do agree with Beth that if we lose both games, I still think they will keep him in place, because I was told only yesterday that United haven't actually approached anybody still, and it will take a while, even if it happens. So I think, we're in the incompetent era. What do you think from this week, Adam? What do you think's happening?
I think again we're going in too arrogantly into these games. Atalanta is not
Depends how many
given.
injuries Atalanta have got, because they had a lot. I don't know whether they've resolved it.
Yeah, now the players are coming back now. They won 4-1 last week. It was 2-2, I think, with Lazio this weekend as well. They've got in a very similar position to us in their league. I think 5th, similar points, but they will have players back. They have got players back now. So for me, I think we're going into this arrogantly. Ricky says we need a draw in it. We go in for a draw, we lose. It's as simple as that for me. I think we will lose because Atalanta need to win this game. And I do feel like their weakness is in their attack, if that makes sense. If we sit off them, I think we play into their hands a little bit. They're a decent team. We know that. They're not going to give us a second half again like they did at Old Trafford. It's going to be a big one for me, the Champions League, because I said at the start, if he went out the Champions League, I would have given up on him. I've already given up on him. And then Man City don't have 2 bad games in a week. It very rarely happens with Pep Guardiola.
That loss to Palace doesn't make it.
That's probably the worst thing.
Result.
Yeah, that's the worst thing that could have happened for us, because they'll come back now. They've got Bruges this week, City. I think they'll smash them to pieces, and then they'll be revved ready for the game at Old Trafford. I'm starting with you guys. I'm giving up hope that he will go. I think he should be gone, and if he loses both games, he should go. But honestly, I do see us scraping a result against Atalanta. I'm not going in there saying we're going to just get it willy-nilly. We're going to go in there and be the better team, and it's inevitable. I do think we are going to have to scrap for it. I don't see us getting anything against it, I really don't.
I do actually, possibly with that back 5. It's worked before, and we've got better players in it now.
I think you and 75,000 other people, Adam, will get us the result, because I think even if we're 2-0 down against City, that crowd attacking the Stretford end can do anything, and I think that's his get out of jail card, as we've seen against Atalanta and Villarreal.
That's what that's a big assumption again. I mean, I've been there recently, and that crowd will be gone like that if things start going wrong. They will. Believe me, they will. And if we're down like we was against City, Vicky will tell you that crowd will turn. Beth will tell you like that in a heartbeat, because he's put us into that position now where every result has to happen. That we haven't got time to say, oh, you know what, we've competed well with that now. It's a result business now for Ole. Everything has to go right for him. Like I said then, he's at the end now, and it has to happen. I just feel like the sucking the ball in the net at the Stretford end, I mean, it's not there. It's not there. It's really not. I just feel like against
if it starts
City,
off badly, it's just
that. Like I said, I'm sticking with that. City having that bad result, I think it's probably the worst thing that could have happened to us. I think they're probably now looking at it.
Did anyone watch that? What happened with City yesterday? Were they just shit? Did anyone watch it? You've seen it, Ricky.
We got a man sent off.
Goals scored, goals disallowed. Laporte got sent off.
It was just him. It was just one of them days, was it?
Palace have got the voodoo on, haven't they? Palace have got the voodoo on City. They're one of City's bogey teams, aren't they? I remember Townsend smashing that wonder goal in on the half volley a couple of years back. One of the best strikes I've ever seen. That, but you know what? Vieira's got them playing well, so there is a way around City. But and again, tactics, innit? And that's United, and that's when we sort of fall down. Honestly, I see us getting a point at Atalanta and losing to City. And I hope I'm going to have egg on my face and that results completely spin around and we win both. Because that's just me. I'm a fan.
Well, Romano's come out and said that it's still a big week for Ollie. So we'll see what happens with that, Ricky. But just before we ask you what your thoughts are about this week, one interesting thing going into the Champions League is that, and I know Ricky said if we can get a draw, we'll probably be all right. But I was just looking at it on my phone when someone was talking. Atalanta and Villarreal have got 4 points. They've got 4 points. So if we drew with Atalanta and then they beat Young Boys, they'd have 8 points. But then if Villarreal beat even a draw, if I think we've got to draw both the away games. I think if we draw and lose one,
I think it's possible for us, Villarreal and Atalanta,
all on the same points.
To finish on 10 points.
But if we draw both away games or win one of them,
if we draw both and beat Young Boys, we'll be through automatically.
Yeah, because we got the better record against the opposite team, haven't we?
Through with 10 points. So there is.
So what are you fancying ahead of this week then, Ricky, over the two? What are your thoughts?
The difficulty with predicting results of football games in advance is especially in this day and age with so many managers changing the teams. You need to see what team he picks before you can say how you think they'll go on. But I do think that he'll stick with the back five for both games. I think it will be difficult to beat. I expect us to beat Atalanta with virtually the same team playing. I don't know how much Anthony Martial is out of favour, but if he has to rest Cavani, I'm absolutely certain the best partner for Ronaldo is Martial. Miles better with his back to goal than any other two. Better passer of the ball.
I'd like to see Martial starting that front two.
I think Ronaldo will get plenty of chances if we had that same team out, except it was Martial for Cavani. I'm not saying I pick him ahead of Cavani. Cavani might need resting. He might not even be fit. I saw him hobbling off at the end.
He won't play. No, he took Ronaldo off early, didn't he? So
yeah. So, but anyway, if it's more or less the same team, if he can't play Cavani, I hope he plays Martial. I don't know how much out of favour he is, and I think they'll win then. And then against City, he's going to go with the same format. I'm going to predict 2 wins, and that's not like me.
But yeah, Ricky.
You know what? You sort of stole my thunder a little bit because I do agree. I think he will get 2 results because I think we've been here before. And to be honest, if he gets 2 results, I'd sack him now for what he's done already. So I'm not going to say he shouldn't get sacked. But where we are with this board, they're never going to sack him if he gets 2 results. And I don't think they're going to sack him if he doesn't get 2 results. So I think the only way there's a chance of him going is if he loses both. And I don't see that. And I just think it'd be very odd for United to get smashed by Liverpool, then 2 weeks later get smashed by City at home. It definitely can happen because City are a good side, but
it has happened to us before.
Yeah, I think
in the same week.
I still think the most not confusing thing, but amazing thing is that the players are clearly playing for him, and I'm just wondering. I know these players are on social media. I know they pretend they're not, but they are, and I'm just thinking, what is it that they're thinking that most of our fan base isn't? And don't tell me what they're playing for the club because they haven't fucking done that consistently for 8 years. You know, they're capable of doing it, but they don't do it consistently. So I'm somewhat confused as to why these players are so behind this coaching network, unless it's just what I've been told, which is that they just like him. They like Carrick, they like Ollie, they like Phelan, you know, and it's a nice environment. But
they've been favoured
nice
as well
environments don't win titles.
Ollie's favoured these players. I feel like the ones he's favoured are the ones that are behind him, hence why they start every game. And I think because they've been favoured and they probably do get on really well, and that's probably why. But surely they know the tactics aren't there.
Someone said it the other day. I can't remember what player it was or for what team. Says, I used to hate training sessions. I used to hate the environment, but I love picking up them trophies. If you're loving training and everything's great and you're playing shit on the pitch, there's your problem right there.
And I'm not saying look, I don't want people saying, oh, Goldbridge thinks the player should be not playing for the club. I do think they should be playing for the club. But what I'm saying is, under Van Gaal and under Mourinho and under Moyes, the first team players had gone a long way before they went. And it just interests me that I think somebody said the other day, well, say what you like about Ollie, but this is some of the best football we've played since Sir Alex Ferguson retired. And I'm like, myth. That's a myth, mate. Sorry. That's a lie. That's not true. The football's crap. The results are crap. The expectations and standards are crap. And yet the players still, the first team players are behind him. And I think that's
it's not been a great level of football since, not going to lie. So there's not much to compare it to.
No, I don't care. Mourinho won trophies. Van Gaal won a trophy. And their football's not as bad as what Ollie's produced this season. I don't care what anyone says.
Van Gaal's was, bloody hell.
But I still don't think Van Gaal was as bad as this season.
No one can tell me that period where it was 0-0, 1-0 every single week wasn't the most boring thing they ever watched. I was literally there on games that I'd be falling asleep at half time. But honestly, I can't. I mean,
you enjoyed that time, didn't you, Ricky? You like Van Gaal?
I thought we played some great football.
Ricky watched it 3 times.
I think we beat City 4-2 at Old Trafford. We beat Liverpool 3-1 at Old Trafford.
Wanfield.
You've seen the stats.
In charge of the game at Wanfield.
We were
Yeah.
20th in the league for attacking patterns of play. It was showing it on the screen. I was like, Jesus Christ!
I think he was getting somewhere.
I think if he got the right players in, I think if the board actually would have backed him and got him the
I
players
was
he came out and said he
devastated.
wanted, then he
The
could
day
have.
he got sacked, I was devastated.
Yeah.
Proper devastated.
This is where a lot of fans have got the problem in it, because Ollie's got and been given more than anyone else, and he had no credentials behind him, where the other managers did a little bit, and they didn't get half of what Ollie's been given, and that's the argument in it with it.
Well, look, and also he did. Van Gaal and Mourinho from very early on did not get the protection that Ollie's got from these ex-players in the media. And I'm not naming names, but from very early on, Van Gaal and Mourinho. I remember Mourinho beating Juventus 2-1 and 2 ex-players slagging him off. And he just won in Turin, 2-1. Yeah. Ollie can get beat fucking 5-0 by Liverpool and not get any criticism at home. So, I think Ollie has been very protected. I always expect David Attenborough to come out before a game and introduce Ollie as this bloody protected species, because he is a protected manager. But look, he is the manager at the moment, and it is a very weird time, but we'll just have to see how it develops, I suppose. Look, it's been a fantastic show. We did start early, and we've gone a little bit later than I thought we would, because we've lost an hour in the UK. So really, we're coming up for 10 o'clock, but it's coming up for 9 o'clock. So thanks for coming on, Ricky. Really enjoyed having you on.
I did. Thank you.
Beth, thank you very much.
Great show. Good chat. Excited for the week ahead. We'll see what happens.
2 wins.
You fixed your mic as well,
I hope so.
You fixed your mic, haven't you?
Yep, fixed it. All good.
Could tell from the first time you spoke. And Adam, thank you very much for coming on.
Cheers. Yeah, pleasure as always, guys.
We're back tomorrow morning. I had forgotten myself, and I was just messaging him while we're on the show. Paul Ince tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock. So we'll see what he's got to say. Looking forward to that. And we're playing Tuesday night, so it's going to be all the bloody matches and watch-alongs and everything like that to get back into. So at least it's quick. Last week was a long week. Tuesday night, Saturday lunchtime, 2 big games. Thanks, everyone, for watching. We'll speak to you soon.
Matt,
sorry, Ricky, go on.
Before you go, do us a favour. Ask Incy what he would have thought if he was playing next to Greenwood and Rashford playing on the wings.
I'm writing it down now.
Ask him.
Rashy and Greenwood. I know what he'll say. He'll go, Marky, I'll tell you this, mate. I want to put up with that. Okay, well, we'll see you tomorrow then for that. Thanks, everyone, for watching.
Good night.